Antoinette grew up at the Habsburg court in Vienna. Born to a life of unimaginable wealth and unquestioned privilege. Austria was a great empire spread across the center of Europe, and her mother was its ruler. The Empress Marie Theresa was renowned for her iron will and her formidable armies. She would have led her soldiers into battle herself, she once said, if she hadn't been perpetually pregnant.
Imagine having 16 children. She would read the state papers throughout the labor, dropping them when things got to a critical stage. Strong, coped with adversity, but she was the mother from hell.
On November 2nd, 1755, the Empress gave birth to her 15th child, Maria Antonia Josepha Joanna. Everyone called her Antoine. Coddled and pampered, Marie Antoinette always remembered her childhood fondly, the youngest girl in a great brood of children.
Marie Antoinette was light-hearted, enjoying music, dancing, all those kind of things. Very affectionate, but not a very deep character. Maria Theresa neglected her, thinking she was never going to come to very much. She thought Marie Antoinette was rather sweet, but uninteresting.
She learned to play the harpsichord and dance, and how to comport herself at court, but not much more. She hated reading, had difficulty writing, showed no interest in geography or history. She is more intelligent than has been generally supposed, one of her tutors said. Unfortunately, she has not been trained to concentrate in any way, though I feel that it is well within her power to do so. While her mother ruled, her father occupied a purely ceremonial position. He delighted in being alone with his family in their private apartments, where court etiquette could be forgotten. His death when Marie Antoinette was 9 dealt the Empress a devastating blow. For the rest of her life, Maria Theresa wore widow's black. Her grave demeanor grew graver still, inspiring in her children respect and fear. Marie Antoinette quickly learned that her first duty was to Austria.
L'impératrice Marie-Thérèse est avant tout une femme chef d'État. Et comme c'est une femme chef d'État, elle gouverne tout. L'impératrice se conduit avec sa fille toujours en chef d'État, plus qu'en mère affectionnée.
The Empress used her daughters as pawns in a game of high-stakes diplomacy, building alliances by marrying them to the rulers of Europe. They are born, she said, to obey. When she wanted to cement a precarious alliance with France, Austria's centuries-old antagonist, she commanded Marie Antoinette to marry the heir to the French throne.
At that time, France and Austria were enemies, and the marriage between Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI was an attempt to erase that past.
On April 21st, 1770, Marie Antoinette said goodbye to Austria forever. She was just 14 as she set out to conquer the French court, armed only with her charms and the instructions of her mother.
Farewell, my dearest child. A great distance will separate us. Do so much good to the French people that they can say that I have sent them an angel.
A hostage to politics, a failure in the marriage bed, the Austrian teenager was homesick as she struggled to adjust to the elaborate rituals of the French court.
Madame, my very dear mother, I have not received one of your dear letters without having the tears come to my eyes. I still ardently wish I could see my dear and very dear family for at least a moment.
She doesn't want to listen to les tantes, her aunts, who define royal ceremony at Versailles. She collects a group of, chuckly sort of high school valley girl friends around her, really, who say, yes, don't listen to the, boring old crones.
The teenager refused to take the tedious court rituals seriously, mocked those who did, and provoked her mother to dispatch one admonishing letter after another by courier from Vienna.
Do not let yourself go to making fun of others. At your age, the world forgives many frivolities and childish acts. But as time passes, you yourself will suffer from them.
You must trust me very little to believe that I am so unreasonable as to amuse myself and neglect those I must honor.
Do try to get your head stocked with good reading. You need it more than almost anyone.
My greatest happiness consists in pleasing you. I'm so desperately sorry that you believe what people tell you.
Making people like us is a talent which you have mastered so perfectly. Do not lose it by neglecting your kind heart, your frankness, your amiability. You owe it neither to your beauty, which in fact is not so great, nor to your talents or culture. You know very well you have neither.
Maria Theresa knew every detail of her daughter's behavior, from reports from Marie Antoinette's confidential advisor, the Austrian diplomat Count Mercy. The French people seemed to adore their new queen. Only the queen's mother was filled with foreboding.
I am greatly distressed. My daughter's fate will either be wholly splendid or extremely unfortunate. There is nothing to calm my apprehensions. She is so young, has never had any power of application, nor ever will have.
Maria Theresa was made aware of everything and dispatched from Vienna a barrage of stinging criticism.
I have news that you have been buying bracelets, and that you have thrown your finances into disorder, and have heaped up a burden of debt. It is well to be in the fashion, but a good-looking queen endowed with charm, simplicity of attire, is more suitable to exalted rank. A queen only degrades herself. Do not forfeit the good name you acquired to begin with. I, who love my little queen and watch her every footstep, cannot hesitate to warn her of her frivolousness.
Her mother is constantly saying, my airhead daughter, the shopaholic, stop it. There are riots going on. You can't sort of, really diamondomania must stop now.
What does my mother want? I'm terrified of being bored. I must have some distraction, and I can find it only in increased amusements.
Once, with a sad and thoughtful look, the queen confided to Count Mercy that her situation as a married woman was distressing.
I think she felt desperate. She wasn't having any kind of physical fulfillment at all. She could go dancing, she loved gambling, and it was easy to turn to inanimate objects, to have jewels and beautiful dresses.
In 1777, Versailles welcomed a royal guest, the Queen's older brother, Joseph II of Austria. With the fate of France and the alliance with Austria entwined with two young people and their problems in the bedroom, Maria Theresa sent her son to help them. Joseph's visit lasted 2 months. As he said goodbye, he handed his sister a document that ran 30 pages, filled with advice and warnings. "You are getting older," he wrote, "and you no longer have the excuse of youth. What will become of you? An unhappy woman, and still more unhappy princess." Marie Antoinette was 21 years old. Two months later, whatever Joseph's advice to the King of France had been, it seems to have worked like a kind of miracle tonic.
August 30th, 1777. My dear mother, I am in the most essential happiness of my entire life. It has already been more than 8 days since my marriage has been perfectly consummated. The proof has been repeated yesterday even more completely than the first time. I do not think that I am pregnant yet, but at least have the hope of being so from one moment to the next.
It had taken more than 7 years, but the great work, as Joseph called it, had been accomplished. 16 months later, all of France celebrated. There were free sausages and bread for the poor. The public drinking fountains were filled with wine. Marie Antoinette had done her duty to France and Austria, even though the baby was a girl. She named her Marie Theresa Charlotte, after her mother. Maria Theresa rejoiced, but she would not live to see her daughter give birth to 3 more children, 2 boys and another girl. The Empress of Austria died 3 years later on November 29, 1780.
Crushed by most dreadful misfortune, I cannot stop crying. Oh, my brother, now only you are left to me, in a country which will always be dear to me. Remember, we are friends, allies. Love me.